If you feel exhausted, cold, puffy, anxious, or weirdly flat, your thyroid might be calling for help. And the frustrating part is you can be doing everything right and still feel like your body forgot how to generate energy. Here's the longevity compass truth. Your thyroid is basically your metabolic thermostat, and when it's underpowered or overpowered, your entire system runs differently. Today we'll break down what thyroid hormones actually do, why TSH alone can miss the real story, and the exact labs to ask for. And by the end, you'll have a simple "Ask Your Doctor" checklist you can screenshot. Quick disclaimer: this is educational, not medical advice. Use this to have smarter conversations with your clinician, not to self-diagnose on the internet at 2 a.m. because at 2 a.m., everything is either definitely thyroid, or definitely cancer, or definitely both. Let's do this the calm way. If you want evidence-based longevity strategies that actually work, hit like and subscribe. And check the description for helpful tools, plus our longevity compass book on Amazon. Now, first, why the thyroid matters for longevity. Not just for weight, but for the stuff that keeps you alive and functional. Thyroid hormone influences your resting energy burn, heat production, heart rate, gut motility, and how your cells use carbs and fats. It also affects cholesterol levels, blood vessel tone, and brain energy metabolism, so mood and cognition can get dragged into the mess too. That's why thyroid issues can quietly worsen cardiovascular risk factors before anyone labels it a thyroid problem, and it's why a lot of people feel off long before their labs look dramatically abnormal. So why does it get missed? Because the symptoms are non-specific. Fatigue overlaps with sleep debt, low iron, low B12, depression, insulin resistance, medication side effects, and sleep apnea. Weight creep overlaps with being a human in a world where food engineers are paid bonuses. And most routine checkups run a quick screen, TSH. TSH is useful, but in some cases, it's not enough. So let's talk about the TSH trap, because this is where a lot of people get stuck. TSH is the signal from your brain to your thyroid: make more hormone. If your thyroid is struggling, TSH often rises. But there are important exceptions where TSH can look normal, and you can still have a real thyroid problem. Here are the big ones. First, central hypothyroidism. This is when the thyroid gland itself might be fine, but the brain signal isn't. In central hypothyroidism, free T4 can be low while TSH is normal or low. So if you only check TSH, you can miss it. This is uncommon, but it's high stakes to catch. Red flags include a history of pituitary tumor, head trauma, brain radiation, severe headaches, vision changes, or multiple hormone-related symptoms all at once. Second, biotin interference, the hair, skin, and nails plot twist. Biotin can distort some thyroid lab assays. It can make TSH look falsely low and T4, T3 look falsely high. Translation: your labs can impersonate hyperthyroidism when your thyroid is actually fine, or you can get your medication dose changed for the wrong reason. If you take biotin, the simple move is to stop it before thyroid testing. Your thyroid doesn't care about your manicure timeline, but your lab results do. Third, age effects. TSH tends to drift upward with age in otherwise healthy people. So using one adult reference range can sometimes overdiagnose hypothyroidism in older adults. And that matters, because overtreating thyroid can create its own longevity problems. So here's the practical take. TSH is a great first test, but it's not the whole story. Which brings us to the labs that actually matter. If you're trying to understand energy, weight, mood, and long-term risk, this is the starting panel. Start with two labs, TSH and free T4. Think of TSH as the signal, and free T4 as the actual output. If TSH is abnormal, free T4 helps tell you whether it's subclinical or overt. And if symptoms don't match the labs, free T4 helps you avoid getting gaslit by a single number. Next add on TPO antibodies, and sometimes thyroglobulin antibodies. This helps answer why Hashimoto's autoimmune thyroiditis is the most common cause of hypothyroidism in iodine-sufficient places like the US. Antibodies can predict who's more likely to progress from borderline to overt hypothyroidism over time. Now, what about free T3? This is where the internet gets spicy. For hypothyroidism, T3 is often the last lab to fall. So ordering T3 for every tired person usually adds confusion, not clarity. T3 becomes more useful when hyperthyroidism is suspected, when TSH is low and symptoms fit. Think palpitations, tremor, heat intolerance, insomnia, unexplained weight loss, and the feeling like your nervous system drank 3 espressos without permission. And then there's reverse T3. If you've been told reverse T3 explains everything, here's the calmer truth: it's generally not recommended for routine thyroid evaluation. Reverse T3 tends to rise in illness and stress states, but it doesn't reliably diagnose thyroid function in the way people claim. In other words, it's a great way to spend money and gain uncertainty. Now let's talk symptoms, without doing the symptom astrology thing. Because symptoms matter, but they don't diagnose. Hypothyroid leaning cluster, fatigue, cold intolerance, constipation, dry skin, hair thinning, puffiness, slower heart rate, heavier menstrual bleeding, and sometimes higher LDL cholesterol. Hyperthyroid leaning cluster, palpitations, tremor, anxiety, heat intolerance, sweating, diarrhea, insomnia, and muscle weakness. If you have chest pain, fainting, severe shortness of breath, or a racing irregular heartbeat, that's not a "watch a few more videos" situation. That's a "get evaluated" situation. Now the myth everyone wants answered: thyroid and weight. Because people hear thyroid and immediately think weight loss, here's the evidence-aligned truth. Thyroid dysfunction can move the scale, but it's rarely the sole cause of major obesity. In hypothyroidism, weight gain is often modest, commonly in the range of about 5 to 10 pounds. And a meaningful portion can be water and salt retention, not pure fat gain. So if someone promises 30 pounds of thyroid weight loss, they're selling you a story, not physiology. The thyroid is powerful, but it's not a magic eraser for ultra-processed food. Now let's hit one of the most useful topics for adults over 40, subclinical hypothyroidism. This is where TSH is elevated, but free T4 is normal. This is common, and it's also where treatment decisions get nuanced. Because sometimes treating helps, and sometimes it doesn't change symptoms much, especially in older adults. Large trials in older people with subclinical hypothyroidism found levothyroxine often did not meaningfully improve tiredness or symptom scores compared to placebo. So if you're borderline, the decision is usually about risk profile, trajectory, antibodies, symptoms, and shared decision-making, not expecting a miracle. Also important, mildly elevated TSH can normalize over time. So repeating labs before committing to lifelong medication is often the smarter move. Now we need to talk about something that almost no one talks about on thyroid TikTok. Overtreatment is a longevity problem. Too much thyroid hormone, or too much replacement, can push TSH too low. And low TSH states are associated with higher risk of atrial fibrillation and heart complications, and lower bone density and fracture risk in older adults and postmenopausal women. So the goal isn't more thyroid. The goal is right thyroid. Now let's make this ultra practical. If you're on levothyroxine and you still feel like your labs are a roller coaster, this section can change your life. Levothyroxine absorption is picky. It's not dramatic, it's just annoyingly real. Most people do best taking it on an empty stomach, consistently, and separating it from iron and calcium supplements by several hours. Coffee, high fiber timing, and certain antacids can also interfere for some people. That means you can be on the right dose and still not absorb it consistently. And then you get dose increases you didn't actually need. Now the supplement landmines, starting with iodine. Iodine is essential, but more is not better. Most adults need around 150 micrograms per day, and excess iodine can trigger thyroid dysfunction in susceptible people. Kelp supplements are a classic trap because they can contain very high iodine doses. So if you see thyroid support plus kelp plus energy, be careful. That's not a supplement, that's a dice roll. Selenium is another one with nuance. Some studies show selenium can reduce thyroid antibody markers in Hashimoto's, but the clinical payoff varies. And the upper limit matters, because too much selenium can cause toxicity. This is a deficiency first, clinician-guided nutrient, not a more is more situation. Now here's the clean longevity compass approach to thyroid nutrition. Food first, deficiency first, and don't stack 10 pills hoping one fixes the root cause. If you're exhausted, look at iron and ferritin, B12, vitamin D, sleep quality, and metabolic labs too. Because thyroid symptoms are often shared symptoms. Which brings us to the screenshot checklist. If you're tired, cold, stuck, and something feels off, here's what to discuss with your clinician. Ask for TSH Free T4. If appropriate, add TPO antibodies to check for autoimmunity. Review meds and supplements, especially biotin and iodine-containing products. And consider checking a lipid panel, CBC, ferritin or iron studies if fatigue and hair loss are prominent, plus B12 and vitamin D when clinically appropriate. If symptoms are loud and labs don't match, ask whether central hypothyroidism or absorption issues could be in play. And if you snore, wake unrefreshed, or have daytime sleepiness, think sleep apnea screening, because sleep can impersonate thyroid problems and also worsen them. Here's the bottom line. Thyroid health is not just about weight. It's about energy, mood, cardiovascular risk markers, bone health, and how alive your system feels day to day. And the biggest upgrade is moving from guessing to testing intelligently. If this helped, like and subscribe. And check the description for the tools and resources we mentioned, plus our longevity compass book. And here's a question for you in the comments. Have you ever had normal TSH, but still felt thyroid symptoms? And what did you discover after digging deeper? Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.